Dudes and dudettes, it is week 6 of the NFL season, so you know what that means. It's time for the week 6 episode of Tossin the Pigskin. I'm your host, Nate Smith. We'll get right into it with how'd I do last week, and the short answer is not too good. For the second week in a row, struggling a little bit here early on in the season, but I think we can right the ship. Went 1-3-1 for my week 5 picks. Titans -3 was a big L. Chargers -6.5 was a massive L. And Browns +3.5 was the biggest L of the day. So those 3 bets were just garbage. Ravens -3 was a push on an overtime field goal. And our only win of the day was over 49.5. And it actually wasn't even Sunday. It was the Thursday night game, Seattle and the Los Angeles Rams. So with that, I moved to 11-13-1 on the year, which can be fixed with just a winning week this week. We get back up over that 500 mark. So let's get right to it. Pick number 1, London game. Might as well get in that action early, boys. Panthers -2.5 versus the Buccaneers. Give me the Panthers in this one. The Bucs are 2-3 heading into this, fresh off a 31-24 loss at New Orleans. And the Panthers are 3-2. Just beat the Jags at home 34-27. This comes down to the Bucs defense being a big issue for me and not trustworthy at all. They're ranked 29th in opponents' points per game, and they're also ranked dead last in passing yards allowed per game. I think Carolina is going to make the Bucs throw the ball, playing right into what they want. This Bucs run game does not really scare you. Carolina is 4th in passing yards allowed per game, and defensively they are 3rd in sack percentage. I believe this Panthers D-line, headlined by Gerald McCoy, by the way, revenge game for him, was a Buck for a long time, Mario Addison, and the rookie Brian Burns. I think they're just going to chew up this Bucs O-line and make it a long day for Jameis Winston. Jameis, as everyone knows, prone to throwing picks, prone to making mistakes. I think he gets sacked a lot in this one, and I think he turns it over at least a couple times. For that reason, give me the Panthers -2.5. Next game on the slate here. Give me the Saints in a pick'em versus the Jaguars. Now, this game is in Jacksonville, but I don't really care. I think this is just a coaching mismatch and an overall roster mismatch. The Saints are 4-1, just beat the Bucs last week, and the Jags had that close Jags had that close loss to Carolina last week, as we mentioned in the last bet. The Saints are 3-0 since Drew Brees went down, and that is damn impressive if you ask me. After a slow-ish start, Bridgewater seems to have found his stride. He got hot last week. 26 of 34 for 314 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception. If Teddy plays half as well as that, I think the Saints win this game with ease. The Saints are 11th in the league on third down conversion percentage, while Jacksonville struggles in that category. They are ranked number 26, converting just nearly 33% of their third downs on offense. The Jags are going to try and establish the run. It's what they do best offensively. They are 8th in the NFL in rushing yards per game, but I believe New Orleans is going to game plan for that. Defensive coordinator Dennis Allen has had this defense playing pretty well all year long. Now, the stats don't exactly back this up as far as rushing yards allowed per game and passing yards allowed per game. They're in the back half of the league for those. But there is talent on this roster, and I just think they've been playing very good situational defense. And the game plans that I've seen from him in the past couple weeks have been impressive. I think they're going to try and make the rookie Gardner Minshew beat them. New Orleans is going to come after Minshew. The strength of this New Orleans defense is in their front 7. Their D-line is impressive. I think Minshew will be under pressure all day. This Jags O-line is pretty good, but I still think the Saints can get home to him. And I'm just not confident in these Jags receivers right now. DJ Chark has been playing amazing, but other than him, I feel like Marshawn Lattimore will probably shadow him. And then besides that, I don't really see the D.D. Westbrooks of the world going off for a lot of yards. So for those reasons, I like the Saints at +1. Next pick here. Give me the Eagles money line versus the Vikings. Eagles are 3-2, coming off a 31-6 win over the Jets. Vikings are also 3-2, coming off a 28-10 win over the New York Giants. I personally think this line is just a mistake. I just think Vegas got it wrong. It happens sometimes. I think Eagles should have been favored. They're the better team. Somehow the Vikings are favored, though, by 3. This Philly offense is legit. 7th in points per game so far. And the most impressive thing to me, though, 2nd and 3rd down conversion percentage at about 53. 5th in red zone touchdown percentage. Minnesota is going to try to run the ball at you. It's what they do. Number 2 in rush play percentage and number 3 in rushing yards per game. Only problem is this Eagles front on defense will not allow it. They're the best rush defense in the entire league. Now, the Eagles' pass defense is bad, and they definitely have injuries in their secondary. But that's okay because this Vikings passing game has been bad. They have thrown the fewest passes per game in the league, and they are 29th in passing yards per game. Kirk Cousins, along with this offensive scheme to start, has been wildly run heavy. And, you got to assume they adjust a little bit because that is the Eagles' strength, stopping the run. But that being said, Eagles have a huge advantage at quarterback. And I would say roster-wise, the only other position group disadvantage for the Eagles right now is their secondary on defense. I believe they're better at every other position group offensively and defensively. I think they're the better overall team. Also, these two teams don't like each other. I think the Eagles come out fired up in this one. Also, division-wise, they are now tied for first, so a win could potentially propel them into sole possession of first. It's a big game for the Eagles. I know it's early in the year. Birds win this one. Next game, 49ers versus the Rams. I like the Rams -3. I know. The Niners are amazing, right? Undefeated, going to be in the Super Bowl. Let's pump the brakes on that real quick. This game is going to show us a lot about two of the top dogs in the NFC. Niners are 4-0, as I mentioned, but the best team they've played thus far is Cleveland. The Rams are 3-2, but could easily be 4-1 after last week had a heartbreaking loss to Seattle, missed that field goal at the buzzer. For me, this is a situational play. The Rams are at home, and they're desperate. Also, the Niners are really banged up. Both of their starting offensive tackles are out in Joe Staley and Mike McGlinchey. Plus, fullback Kyle Juszczyk and starting corner Ahkello Witherspoon will also miss this game. That's 4 high-impact starters right there that will not be there. The Rams are second in the league so far in passing yards per game, and with the Niners missing one of their starting corners, and offensively with the Niners missing their 2 starting offensive tackles and Kyle Juszczyk, who really blocks extremely well and opens up a lot of things in that run game for them. I think, bold prediction, I think this is the best defensive performance we see from the Rams this year. I think they finally put a full game together. They put points up. They're at home. The Rams are just the more desperate team here. It just is what it is. I like the Rams -3. Brings me to my last pick, which is the Falcons versus the Cardinals. Give me over 52 here. I don't like taking a side in this game because both these teams are bad. Simply put, 2 pretty good offenses and 2 horrible defenses. Both teams have gone over in 2 of their last 3 games. Arizona is 28th in points allowed per game, and Atlanta is 31st. There will be a lot of scoring in this one, folks. 2 good quarterbacks. Matt Ryan, his stats have been impressive. I know this Atlanta team has been bad, but his stats have been there. He can throw the ball, and the weapons are still there. I think offensively, this might be Atlanta's best game of the year just because how bad Arizona's defense is. And on the other side of the coin, the past couple weeks, this Arizona offense has really started to pick things up with Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury in their first year together. The biggest thing here is if Arizona can convert their red zone opportunities. They have really struggled putting up touchdowns when they get to the red zone. They've been settling for a lot of field goals. I think that ends this week against a very poor Atlanta defense. Plus, Arizona's at home, so that should help them maybe get a little extra boost to score those touchdowns. Also, Atlanta has the 3rd most passing yards per game, and Arizona is 24th in passing yards per game allowed. As I mentioned, 2 bad overall teams with talented quarterbacks. I think we see a lot of explosive plays, and hopefully that translates to a lot of points. Thank you for watching the Week 6 episode of Tossin the Pigskin. I'm Nate Smith, and let's hope we can get back to the winning ways this week. We'll see you guys next week.